in whatever context they live in, whatever identity they non-binary, whatever, to naturally say they're gonna make themselves smaller so the other person can sit.
Again, I didn't realize I got.
That's a good point, G. That's a good point right there.
It's not a law in the subway to do that. It's a policy that they want people to be courteous about. Be courteous to your neighbor. Be courteous to pregnant women, older women, people that look like they're hurt, and to not take up space when it's unnecessary. Ain't no problem with you doing that when the train is empty. But as soon as you see a bunch of people walk on, you should naturally say, okay, well, let me make myself small so someone else can sit. That's a matter of greed, whether it be male or female, for you to be like, oh, I'm going to take up space. If you have your purse in that chair, I need to sit down.
And then, let me throw this in too, because when we talk about masculinity, we automatically just attach it to men. But are we talking about examples of just actions, or actions and also energy too? Because if we're dealing with energy, we all embody masculine and feminine energies. So like the example that you gave, a woman that presents herself as a man, she has, masculine energy as well. Even feminine women have masculine energy. I think a lot of times when we're dealing with specifically toxic masculinity, maybe that's more so talking about the imbalance within, your energies. If you're much more masculine, than feminine, and you don't have a balance, and it's starting to affect people in a negative way, it becomes toxic.
And I want to switch from energy to culture, because just to back up some that Jay's saying, like, I think part of it is the culture, period, for the fact, like, if I think about, like, family wise, like, I was raised by my mom for most of my life, that I got just as much ass whoopings than I think most niggas that have a father do.
Yeah.
Like, same energy is there. So is that if you're talking about, like, the balance in a family, are you considering the whole family, or are you just looking at the man in the family and thinking that is negative behavior?
And on top of that, we automatically assume, and I think that this is probably where you thought I was going earlier, Tashi, that, boys that are being raised up by their moms, that it's going to all be feminine energy. But there's a lot of women out there that got that balance in the household. It's a lot of women out there I know that actually have more of the masculine energy in that household too. You know what I'm saying? Give that to them. But we automatically look at those situations.
I've been considered rough.
Yeah.
I was raised that way. And I was raised by my mother, like, to be a tougher person, or respond in a tough way, or respond with non-emotion. My oldest son is a very emotional child. He's very creative. He likes to draw. He's not. My ex put him in soccer. That lasted 3 weeks. I was like, don't put him in soccer, because he's not interested in that. Yeah. So for me, it's like it matters what my child wants to do and how he presents himself. If I think that's I don't want to say abnormal, but contrary to what's going to make life comfortable for him, then I'm going to tell him that's not what I want him to do. But for me to say he has to be a little bit more tough or less tough, or I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that, because I'm sorry. I lived in a household where so many things, certain things were regimented to the point where it made me unhappy as a child. So I'm not going to ever do that to my children, and that's where I stand on that. And sidebar, I think that this toxic masculinity thing is just associated with men because men dominate society.
Yeah.
That is just because people can be toxic. It's toxic alone. Like any gender can be toxic.
Yeah.
Any gender can be toxic. Right.
Listen, I'm gonna keep it. I'm gonna really keep it.
I think one of the other things was what you touched on just now is one of the hallmarks of the toxic masculinity is the fact that being aggressive is associated with being masculine, period. And the fact that maybe somebody that's more sensitive or not as aggressive, we look at them as less masculine than anyone else. Maybe someone that is emotional, shows emotions. We as society don't look at them as masculine as somebody who has that aggressive alpha energy. And I think that's part of the problem, and we need to start moving past that.
Okay, so question: if we as a society are supposed to allow for individuals who, let's say, are sensitive, right? We are supposed to allow for them to feel that way, to be that way, to have that personality type, right? Then how do you not allow people to have, males to have maybe an aggressive type where some of the behavior other people may think is toxic, but I need you to explain why.
Because I mean,
why is it toxic though? And give me something specific.
I'm gonna speak on that. I believe that the issue with toxicity is that how does it affect others? You can be toxic and hold that. But if you start to affect others or you affect yourself outwardly, as in, okay, well, you're like me. It took me a long time to change my attitude. I still have the same personality, but my attitude had to change because I saw that it was hindering me in a lot of the things that I was doing. I couldn't accomplish certain things because people were not open to meeting me or open to speaking to me or open to giving me a chance. I had to change that. That was a toxic part of me that I had to realize about myself and change that so that I can have opportunity. Because at the end of the day, we live in society, and society, you know, the things that we do in the world is affected by how other people perceive us. Now, if that's something that you can do, feel or whatever, and it doesn't affect others and it doesn't hinder yourself, then I don't consider it toxic. I don't.
Well, okay. Well, right now,
I feel like you can have that energy, like that aggressive energy, whatever you want to call it, that strong energy, and still find a balance.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Because like my dudes, you know, they know me, and they know that I got that energy. When we call it aggressive alpha energy, right?
King
but at the same time, right? But at the same time, like they be messing with me sometimes because I'm super liberal, man. Like, you know what I mean? And I don't find nothing wrong with being sensitive.
Balance requires you to assess a situation,
right?
Even if you're not writing it down, pros and cons, you're taking a cognizant approach to something.
And see,
like me, it's times where my kids are driving me crazy and I'm ready to spank ass, but I gotta fall back and say, if I spank them, what's gonna happen? If I'm aggressive, what's gonna happen? Is my anxiety gonna peak? That requires balance.
Yeah, okay. And I used to do that same thing with my son. Like, I used to not beat him when I was upset, because I know that could quickly flip into something else, and I didn't want that emotion to take hold of it.
So here, listen to Tashi. Hold on a second. You're listening to Tashi, right? And what she's explaining. None of those experiences are coming from a male. That's coming from a female's perspective. So why are we pointing fingers at masculine? Tashi, you just said that you had to reevaluate certain things and that's you a female. So why we have this toxic masculinity?
But she also said that everybody has the ability to be toxic. But it's just the fact that, like Dane said, we live in a patriarchal society. So yeah, the forefront is at us. There's not look, there are men that get sexually assaulted by women, right? But however, the majority of this going on with the Me Too movement is men sexually assaulting women, right? And in a few cases, men sexually assaulting other men. So
can I say something on that?
Go ahead.
Yeah, sure.
Go ahead.
I understand the reason why you chose the Me Too movement because it's very recent. But if you look at the founder or the idealist behind the Me Too movement, she said that it got out of hand and out of control.
Yeah, Tarana Burke is her name. She did say it got out of control.
And she's from the Bronx. Anyway.
And she black. Yeah, but
right.
And it had nothing to do with Hollywood. It had to do with sexual.
It really went out of context. So for me, I think that at the end of the day, it's a matter of the fact that a lot of things are changing tides, if you want to call it. Like, there's a civil rights movement that happened for Black people. Now there's a civil rights movement for gay and women again, and non-binaries and people who have low income and all those things. So if you take all those classes, they're still up against men. So of course you guys are going to be at the focus of everything, and whatever that these same classes do not like turns into you guys being toxically masculine.
Okay,
I wanted to speak
on Black boys because I raised two of them.
Yeah.
ultimately what we're dealing with in this portion of the conversation is that reassessment of men to say, hold up, let's sit back, let's judge ourselves, let's say whatever is negative, you know what I'm saying? We need to do away with that shit. We need to point it out. We need to do away with that shit. But there's a hold on. There's a flip side of this conversation too, because we're dealing with masculinity, but masculinity in this country is always defined from a white masculine standpoint. But we are black men, black women, and we dealing with masculinity from within our community. And as a black man, going back to G's point, we do see an attack on masculinity. A lot of figures, a lot of very masculine black figures in the public that are perceived to be threatened, you know, are under attack in all sports and all entertainment and all realms of life. So that's when I start to wonder, and I say, hold up, is it genuine just to stop this negative behavior? Or is it posing as it's genuine to stop this negative behavior with an agenda to crush a lot of that masculine energy, even the healthy masculine energy? And that's why I say you gotta be careful with this.
I feel like
and I still kind of feel that's culturally, because I still think about like shit like you know, in North Carolina with the when they got shot up in the church that got shot up by Dylan Roof, and the first thing the preachers was like, oh, we gotta forgive. Yeah. Right, we gotta forgive them. We gotta think. I think that's in common with our culture, well, black culture anyway, where we're taught to be softer. We're taught to be the forgiving ones, regardless. That, you know, that might trickle down to masculinity.
I think that comes from where we have been in society in general, because we've always been subordinate to another class. Like Anye's point is that part of his point was that we always compare ourselves to
white people,
white males. Yeah. So that's just how it's gonna be. And then when you have certain classes, let's say, okay, the black female is up against, I saw this in a meme too, the black female is up against white men, black men, white women, Asian women. So we have a whole bunch of stuff going on. And then you have the white women against black women against white men. So it depends on how many classes are you up against.
Yeah. But this is ultimately why I don't like the term toxic masculinity, because it already sets two different sides. And also with us as a black community, it's more, it's, to me, seems like it has more the potential to push us separate apart as man and woman instead of us as a black unit, which is part of the reason why I don't like the term in itself. I understand some of the ideals behind it, but I think it needs more classification on what the behaviors are and take away the.
Touching on Anye's point, I feel like we also do it to each other. Like, look at the situation with Terry Crews. Terry Crews came out and said, which I like, in my opinion, was a super masculine thing to do. He came out and said, "Hey man, I was sexually assaulted by this other man." Right now, and we as brothers, like his brothers, come out and instead of understanding, damn man, that's fucked up. What they do? They make fun of him. You know what I'm saying?
So wait, okay, so hold on. So Jamie, you thought that coming out and saying I was sexually assaulted, as opposed to reacting on the scene, however he decided to react, but reacting on the scene, like physically, you think him coming out was more masculine than responding on the scene?
I do.
Really?
I do.
Really?
Because let me tell you something. This is the way I see it. He could have, you know, whooped the dude's ass, whatever what people say. But this man thought, he said, "Yo, I got a family to feed. I'm new out here. You know, my star's still rising. If I do this as a black man, assaulting this white man, no matter what, if it's warranted or not, I'm done. That's it for me, right?"
I totally agree.
He held on to that. He thought about his family, which is one of the tenets of masculinity, looking out for your family. Right?
Can I jump on that a little bit?
Hold on 1 second.
Let him finish that.
But I want to jump on that. When he's done, I want to jump on that. Go ahead.
He thought about his family first and said, like, look, okay, it's bigger than me. But when he had the opportunity to come out with it, when the time was right, he said, yo, you know, he showed support to the women and said, look, it's not just y'all. This happened to me too. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And you know, I guess his point was, if somebody, a big, you know, dude like me can get sexually assaulted, it can happen to anybody. You know what I mean?
So
and I feel. Go ahead.
One of the things I want to say, at least taking off of that, is kind of building into what I'm saying, where the potential would go, and the fact that I would say that what Terry Crews did was brave, and the fact that it wasn't the normal thing to do, right? It wasn't the I'm gonna go punch this dude out, whatever, and you know, you could assign whatever you want to. I won't say masculine or unmasculine. I would just say that it was a brave thing to do.
It was brave, definitely.
And because he knew he was going against the norm, he knew this, and you know, one of the first times when we ever talked about it, when you see him on interview. He was saying that basically he did it because how the black man is looked, how we looked at as a black community, and we're always seen as aggressive even when we're the victim. And I respected that part of it.
Listen,
my problem comes. Hold on.
Okay, no.
My problem comes when you know it's abnormal, and when you have people attacking you, right? These black men attacking you, which you know you could say that it's toxic, but it's more historically, culturally. That's how we as a black community, a black man has think, because that's how we were raised. That when you have that opportunity, the first thing that you do is go straight against those black men, right? The first thing you do, instead of starting the conversation to see how their behavior might be wrong or how they could align themselves to a different form of thinking, we automatically attack each other, and that's what I think the problem is.
And real quick, G, you know, just like good points. We look at it as him coming out as that's weak, man. You know what I'm saying? You didn't hit that dude. What the fuck, nigga? That's soft, man.
Right.
What are one of the characteristics of masculinity? Strength. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, I get the physical aspect of it, but how much more strength and discipline does it take to sustain from doing that? That's a greater. That's like the greatest type of strength. And sustain, you know, I don't want to compare it to a Martin Luther King, but let's just say it's easy to attack your enemy or to do something against someone who did something against you, but to hold back with that strength for a greater cause, man, that's big.
To address Jamie, DB, and Anye, all in this one comment right here. This is the thing. It was honorable, but it wasn't the most masculine thing that he could have done.
Yeah, I didn't label it. That's why I didn't label it. I put it as brave. I didn't put it as
it is completely honorable, but it ain't the most masculine thing. Because I personally, it's not because the most masculine thing would have been because he was attacked. All right, so because he was attacked, he should have responded the same way. I ain't say he had to beat the shit out of him, but we saw over in Europe, Will Smith, some cat kissed him on the face and he smacked him. He could have smacked this motherfucker. He didn't. Listen to what I'm saying, Jamie. What I'm saying is he could have done a number of other things other than to stand down and get on TV and talk about it. Honorable, right? Wait, hold on. I told you, Jamie.
Smith and Terry Crews.
Listen, what I'm saying. What's the fucking difference? The money? Why you talking about money? You talking about money?
And it's the difference between who violated.
Wait. What do we? Wait.
Will Smith was there. Nobody.
First.
The dude that violated Terry Crews had power.
First.
That's not even.
First, before we go that far.
First,
hold on, folks. Before we go that far. What's the difference between the two? Let's first understand, what are you saying when you say there's a difference between Terry Crews and Will Smith?
When I brought it up, Terry Crews, he's still trying to attain, you know, a certain level of status, you know, in his field, which is entertainment.
Okay.
So he's still trying to attain a certain level. Will Smith been set since the 90s, bro. You know what I'm saying? And I know what you're talking about. I've seen the video before. This was like not that long ago. Will Smith, he's never had to worry. He hasn't had to worry about anything like that since the early 90s.
What do you mean? Wait, hold on. Wait. Jamie, what do you mean?
Power dynamic of the one who does it to you. It's a big difference between when somebody, a regular Joe Schmo, walk up on you on the street and he touches shit. How you gonna respond?
So hold on for a minute.
How if the police is mishandling, how you gonna deal with them? It's different. You got to deal with the different levels of power.
All right. So now, fuck the bullshit. Anye, Jamie. Let's ask. You know what? Excuse my language, Tashi.
No, come on with it.
Tashi,
come on with
my
it.
Language.
Why you say excuse Tashi? Like, how am I not offended by the bullshit? But go ahead.
See, that was toxic. That was toxic.
So you gentlemen, right? I don't know what outside ventures you guys got going on, right?
What they smoking?
No, well, I mean, I don't know. I'm just saying, I don't know what outside ventures you guys got going on. I don't know you know, what you guys are trying to do with your careers and such, right? But at this stage of the game, some man can come here and grab you guys' crotch, and because of this toxic masculinity thing, y'all concerned about how people are going to view you. Wait a minute, hold on. Wait, you're going to be concerned about how people view you, right? Because of toxic masculinity. Somebody gropes you, right? And you going to think twice about what it is you're going to do because of whatever you're trying.
It's not that. So
tell me what it is.
If I decided, if somebody come up and try to violate me, and I decided to whoop that ass, okay, I'm well within my rights because they tried to violate me.
Right.
But at the same time, I'm not going to look down at this other man because he decided, hey, I can't handle this in this way. I'm not going to say he's any less of a man than me.
But I didn't say. Let me build on that, Jay. Let me build on that. It's levels to this shit. Because it was a difference to how you would deal with a situation like that if you a single man, no family, no wife, and you don't got everything on the line, as opposed to when you didn't build some shit up, and you gotta always take in the thought. That's why we always got to think before we deal with the emotion.
This is my thing, I don't want to. Go ahead.
So get it out.
Damn, this next action that I do, this is a trickle down effect. It's gonna affect my family. You know what I'm saying? Do I put my feelings and what I want to do over how it can negatively or positively affect my family? I have to think in that realm with every action that I make.
So listen,
and I want to add one more point because I'm going back to the interview because that's the main thing that made me want to even talk about it in the first place when we originally talked about it. Was that one of the things that he said that made sense to me was like, in order for you to kind of kill any of this behavior to actually happen, you got to attack it systematically. You got to attack the whole culture of it. Right. The way to do that is not necessarily take that one-time action of punching the dude in the face. Is to make it known. Is to put it out there, let it be shown. I don't know if he was that aware in the moment, but what he did afterwards does show that aspect to it, and I respect that aspect of it, and I don't want to lose it just for a thing. Like I think. And that's why I didn't say masculine before, because again, the traditional aspect of masculine that I know that I grew up from is not, but it's brave.
Let me get
same thing I would say. Well, I don't know.
Let me get Tashi. Let me get Tashi back in here real quick, Jamie. But I'll just address. Let's be clear that I'm not saying that I'm looked down on Terry Crews necessarily for being honorable and taking that route. I'm saying he can't be upset because other guys who have taken that route are clowning him. It's all jokes. Now, Tashi, let me ask you a question, Tashi. Unless you want to address that, because I was going to ask you something, but you want to address that? The fact that
I do real quick.
Okay.
I do real quick. I've been in situations as a woman where you put yourself in environments that may be uncomfortable for you if someone takes advantage of it. I don't necessarily know the real story behind Terry Crews' situation beyond the fact that the person was one of power in his industry as opposed to him, and that does play a lot into it. But I do have to say that we don't know how he immediately responded, because all he's doing is telling you a story. He could have been like, and then thought about his family. You know what I mean? Because a lot of times it's not an immediate reaction when things like that happen. An immediate reaction is what Greg, is saying. Is you would automatically respond how you would naturally. I think that he did not immediately respond in a way that was thinking about his family. He probably was like surprised, and then thus he fell back and kind of was like, oh, let me shun the person. We don't know how it actually happened. That's all I have to say about it.
Real quick before the subject goes away, I want to say this, like, in my opinion, and I think what Terry Crews' point is it's not all jokes. You don't joke about somebody getting sexually assaulted, man. Like it's not even funnier. It's no more funny if you made a joke about a woman getting sexually assaulted.
I don't mean this offensively, but I'm gonna take the words from Dave Chappelle. It's funny until it happens to you.
Here's the thing. There's nothing. I'm not gonna make it seem like being sexual assaulted is a laughing matter. But
And I want to do too.
We're not just talking about. I'm not gonna lie to y'all to equate Terry Crews being groped by some white guy who's a hell of a lot smaller than him to some woman being groped by a grown man. We ain't gonna equate. We're not gonna compare the two. Terry Crews's situation, right, is completely different because he could have defended himself. We ain't talking about somebody who's defended. We're not. Listen. We're not. Listen. No. Listen to what I'm saying. I'm talking about versus someone who is defenseless. Terry Crews was not defenseless in that situation. They are listen. Understand.
Now we're starting to ignore the shackles that this white male-dominated society has on the black man that oppresses his masculinity. Because in our culture, the proper response is for me to bust you on your shit.
So what's the problem? Yay?
But we don't run this society. This is not our
culture.
We respond the way we.
All right, we digging too much into this topic real quick. I don't want to. I'm scared to.
Wait. Digging into what? This is what we talking about. Toxic masculinity here, right? Jamie brought Terry Crews's situation into the conversation. Wait a minute.
Specifically on Terry Crews instead of toxic masculinity.
No. Listen.
Focus on masculinity altogether.
Because if you want to bring it further, there's way bigger than just Terry Crews. If you want to talk about male assault today, especially homosexual male, especially
look at Kevin Spacey.
About
that's
the industry.
Bring up next.
And if we're talking about the industry that they're in, like just to come to a micro view of what Anya's talking about. If you are in the industry, which you see with the Me Too movement and everything else, if you are in the industry that kind of predominantly has always been attached to this sexual assault through power, then male is not obviously it's not basically succumbing to that.
Listen,
they're not.
Listen,
when you talk about defenselessness, you're talking about it just from a physical aspect. You're talking about this man's career. Yes. You're talking about this man could have been in jail.
Listen,
you're talking about all these things that
listen.
And this is what we're talking about.
I need 30. I need 30 seconds. GB, give me 30 seconds to say this shit right here.
I'm counting.
30 seconds. Listen. I don't give a fat rat's ass what career move or whatever he was trying to preserve. At the end of the day, it's his integrity. If he wants to compromise it, that's his business. But if anybody wants to criticize him for it, they got the motherfucking right. He don't have to listen to me. Don't tell me.
I completely agree with that. He made that choice that he chose.
That's it, and that's all I'm saying. Don't sit here and
But you just said that you're not going to equate it. You said you're not going to take his point and equate it to women because they're defensive. That's the point.
No. That's what happens when y'all don't let me finish. That's what happens when you don't let me finish. Let me finish. That's why. Let me finish that defense part. Let me finish that defense, Jamie. Let me just finish that defense part.
He could have either.
Jamie,
just saying is he could have either defended his manhood in a way that you see fit. Not an integrity, is his manhood. And that's what toxic masculinity is. Defending one's manhood has to be through violent means. So
I asked you, Jamie. I asked you. So a cat comes up and grabs your motherfucking balls, and what are you gonna do? What's your response?
I'm fucking him up,
okay. No, wait. Okay. So being that's what your response is going to be, right?
Right.
That's off the rip. There's no wavering, right? No. I'm only simplified because I'm only listen.
We're dealing with a power dynamic.
Listen. You are talking to somebody that's already resisted the power structure. You understand? Yeah. Listen, you talking to somebody who's done it already. If you've done it, then why you talking that way? If you've done it, why you talking? Let me clear it up. Listen, that's what's gonna have to happen. Y'all gotta let me finish the point before you attack it.
30 seconds.
If you've done it, then why you talking that way? Because at the end of the day, Terry Crews does not have to stay in that system. Somebody gropes him, he smacks the shit out of him, and he's blackballed, right? I don't give a fuck. Now I'm gonna make my money somewhere else because my integrity, What are we talking about?
Examples. This goes back to the original examples we're using with toxic masculinity. Okay, that might not have been my reaction to it, but I'm not gonna beat him over the head and joke on him and demean him because that's the way he strategically chose to handle that. And back to toxic masculinity, that's what we do a lot of times. We knock these brothers because we feel like that wasn't the most masculine way of dealing with it, because that's how I define masculinity. So I'm a down you because of the shit. Sometimes we just got to sit back and say, you know what? That's how that man handled that. That's him. I'm with you.
That's fine. That's fine.
I gotta go with your point. Just one-on-one real quick, bro.
Me?
That shit's crazy, bro.
Wait, me or Ye?
That shit's crazy.
Me or Ye?
Bro. So
who are you talking about? Me or Ye?
G.
Let's go, baby.
Crazy,
Let's go.
Bro.
Let's go.
So you're telling me that I have worked all these years to attain the position I have in my career, and because someone decides to assault me and I need to handle that in this situation, I need to throw away my whole career, everything I've built, because I need to show how much of a man I am, by attacking this dude in a violent manner instead of doing it alternatively. I have to worry about how people feel, how masculine I am. I have to throw away my whole career.
You don't have to. No. DB, wait. Let me answer the question, D. Let me answer the question, D. No, I said
he can make his money somewhere else.
Listen, we're talking about choices here. We're not talking about what I'm saying Terry Crews should have done. I'm talking about the choices that he's had. Now, he made a conscious decision, right, to stand down, which is fine. I said in the beginning it was honorable. But at the same time, if there's because first of all, our masculinity, black men's our masculinity has been under attack for a fucking long time now. All these cats running around in Hollywood with dresses and shit, right? I got no so now you got a Terry Crews, right? With all of this shit with guys running around with dresses and shit, right? It seems like at the end of the day, for you to be able to ascend to a certain level in Hollywood, you got to do some questionable shit, right? Okay. If that's what's out there, that's what's looming. Okay, cool. Terry Crews' situation comes into play, and we see the same situation, like going along with this assault. Give me a fucking break, man.
That's the one part I would disagree, because he just chose to do it a different way. The fact that he went out there. Okay, but I agree with your main point. Look, because I think
I'm only saying. Listen, but the last part of it is listen, the last part is people who would not have approached it in that manner. And that's all I'm saying.
And that's the point I think is getting lost, because it went somewhere else. And that point I agree with completely. Like, you cannot necessarily be fully offended, especially if you're going under a traditional male way of thinking. If you're going against that and you know you're going against that, then you're going to have to take that with it. That's part of being the leader.
Can I say something real quick, please?
Go ahead, Tashi. We don't drown you out. I'm sorry, darling. Go ahead. Go ahead.
You already see my face. You know how I am.
Go ahead.
I really do think that the society that we're now here, well, the social climate that we're now hearing about in certain aspects of Hollywood is something that they may have heard, but they may not have experienced. I honestly feel like whatever the situation was with Terry Crews, he may have put himself in an environment where these people are around him. He may not know who they were, but he was in a situation where these people, these sharks were in the water. You want to call it that, right? Now, when he's approached by this person, a person who's not thinking sexually is automatically like, okay, well, John is just talking to me.
Exactly.
John gets closer.
Yeah.
All right, what's up with John? You know what I mean? He may have put himself in a situation so that he can propel himself forward career-wise, but not expecting one for another man, whether he be smaller or bigger than him.
Right. But that's why I actually agree with him. Yeah. That's why I kind of agree with the route he took, because it shines a different light on the aspect before. Like, it shines a light that this is just not happening just females. This is happening males too within this same culture. So we need to change this whole culture. This goes back to me, the idea of culture. Like, this doesn't have necessarily to do with just masculine or feminine. This has to do with the culture overall that we got to talk about.
And I'm gonna touch on something that G said about black masculinity being under attack. And I feel like that point is why that white man felt comfortable with approaching Terry Crews like that, because for lack of a better term, I'm going to break this black buck, and he's going to do what I want him to do.
So again, when you get criticized by other black men, what is the route you're supposed to take? Why are you attacking other black men who you know is coming from a different mind state?
Because he played himself. That's why. Because he played himself. That's the reason why.
I don't think he played himself. Let me tell you.
Hold on, real quick. Ultimately, we got to give him props because he used restraining, he used strength to hold back in the first situation. But now we must criticize him and say, brother, you should have used the same strength, the same restraint to hold back when your brothers had something to say, because they didn't grab your shit. They just gave an opinion. Right. So, you know.
But I look at it like this. Who growing up, everybody has siblings. Growing up, you fight your brother and sister harder than you fight anybody else out the street, man. I don't know what it is. Them fights be violent, bro. Your brother and sister be violent. And I think it's the point of, we supposed to be family. You really attacking me like that? And I think
that it does matter what context the attack happens.
Yes, I agree.
It really does matter the context that the attack happens. Because whether it be sexual or verbal or physical, regular physical. I've been in situations where I worked in the government, right? And I've had to tell people, back off me in the most professional way I could. Okay? It depends on what context it is. And that requires you to be super, super cognizant of what the repercussions are of our actions. I've been in situations where I had to tell a screening manager, don't play with me, all right? And then go back and write my report and send him a nice email so he can see why. I've been there. So for me, Terry Crews had to be aware of who that person was, what they could do or not do to him, and how would it affect his family as well.
Yeah. Right.
Because in the end, like y'all said, compared to Eddie Murphy, because Eddie Murphy don't do much now, but he has his money, he has his pillow. Will Smith, he has his pillow. He's not afforded the right to be certain ways around other people in his industry because he's a let's say a B-list actor. Right. He's a B-list actor. Okay.
And that's why I like this concept. I know Daniel was saying he didn't like it because it attached to masculinity, and originally I was saying that too. But it brings out this emotion, it brings up these conversations, and we putting it all out there. You know what I'm saying? So we're not ignoring these women, the female voice out there, like the examples that Tashi just gave, so that hopefully down the line we're not ignoring the male voice, like a Terry Crews.
And I feel like it attaches to masculinity because of the sheer fact that we felt like it was okay for other men. Now, for the most part, a man is not going to make fun of a woman that gets sexually assaulted in any way, shape, or form. For the most part, unless you're a sick fuck. But it's okay to laugh at, this guy, make jokes about this guy, Monday morning quarterback, this guy, for what he's been through. Because
he could defend himself. And that when I said that last time, y'all jumped out the window because you thought I was implying that women can't.
I love y'all, but can we
if you got a dip, you could dip.
No, it's not that. I want to talk about it, but I want to get off of Terry Crews.
We're speaking in general.
So I was talking about the defenseless part. I just wanted to be sure that I wasn't suggesting that women were defenseless. I'm just saying there are cases where they're being victimized, and they are. There are cases, right? And I didn't want us to be seeming like we were comparing those two situations, because Terry Crews's situation, in my opinion, is completely different. He made a conscious decision to do what he did. Fine. People came out, joked. Some of them were comedians. It's what they do for a living. I thought it was within their rights, norms. He don't have a right to get upset about it. Now, Tashi.
He doesn't.
Tashi. So now, to broaden that conversation, as far as
you always trying to test my brain, you know what I'm saying?
No, I'm saying to broaden the conversation a little bit more, because I personally is thinking that this is just the next step into making this what I consider the wussification of America. You don't understand? If this is just
good point. No, good point.
Wussification of America, the softening of America, right? It's just the next step in it. You know what I'm saying? You know, I understand, you know, bullying. Like, I don't want to get into too deep about you know, specifics about bullying unless y'all want to, but I'm only touching on it to say, because this is where it started. I mean, it started with that, with the whole bullying thing, you know, and then kids who
participation
trophies, you know, 17th place trophies, all of this stuff, you know, all of this stuff is what, and this is just the next step. But this is where I draw the line, because now it seems like you're just attacking not just toxicity. I just think a lot of this shit that's being attacked is just natural shit that I do naturally. You understand what I'm saying? This is what's starting to bother me. It's starting to creep into what could be considered as natural behavior for anybody.
I really do feel like I said earlier, the toxicity part is the most essential, you know, part of it all, is how whatever actions, I don't want to say beliefs, because I believe people should believe how they feel, believe what they want to believe, as long as it doesn't affect others in a negative way. But if those actions, those toxic behaviors and mindsets, and how you exhibit those and implement those mindsets, or, you know, whatever, affects others and affects yourself negatively, because I do believe life is about strategy. That's where the toxicity comes in. And I can understand where you say the wussification of things, because you know, there's an innate line of what is okay as a man and what is okay as a woman, and then there's an in between, you know, or a gray area where, depending on who's looking at it, it's this or that. I totally see where you could say, well, if I dumb down my masculinity, I'm going into that gray area towards womanhood or femininity. You know what I mean?
I don't believe it.
I'm wondering why we can't just find that mid ground, find that balance, because ultimately what we're talking about is two imbalances. When we talk about, you know, like you said, the wussification of America, that's an imbalance in trying to make men or boys too feminine. When we're talking about toxic masculinity, when I hear that, that's being over masculine, hyper masculine. I'm just saying, can we find a mid ground? And that's what conversations like this is supposed to do.
I think we should.
It's a matter of opinion when it comes to that, because how do you
don't think there should be balance?
But let me ask a question, because balance? I think
what is balance?
A balance in between feminine energy and masculine energy.
Because
not them working against each other.
Hold on, what?
I feel like, you know, the point of all this is, why is it that masculinity is attributed to dominance and aggression? And that's what we need to get away from.
I think that's because we're at the head of the society. Most of those societies is based on.
But that's the whole point of this argument. That's the whole point of the argument within society, is stop equating masculinity with
and I agree, because I think
power. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's okay if boys want to pick flowers and cry. They don't have to always play football and whatever. You know what I'm saying?
What happens Let me make one point, because I think what it falls down to me as I'm thinking about it is that we just have a basic, very, very fucking basic idea of what masculinity is. For the fact, like when Jay brought up the whole man spreading your legs, and Ye made the example of lesbian, you know, women who act more mannish, they do the same thing. Why is that? Is it because they have the same reason? No, it's because they have this idea of what masculinity is. They have these traits of what being a man is.
You're talking about copying something that's natural.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, there's an idea of what masculinity is that passes off through the culture.
What does that have to do with the natural? What does that have to do with the Okay, look.
Because the women are not being natural, right?
No, they're not. They're not. No, they're not.
So basically, then why are they doing it? They're copying it.
Hold on, Tashi. What you want to say, Tashi? What you want to say?
That's a lie, because there's women that present themselves as a, let's say, AG. AG means aggressive, whatever.
Right.
As a lesbian, and they feel like it is innate for them to spread when they say.
But I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that is not. I'm not saying it's not. But the fact of that you're doing the same thing, right? If this is the idea of what naturally a man does, that means there's somewhere in the culture that you're thinking this is what a man does. If we're basically saying that, you know, a man spreads his legs because he has a penis, that's normally the idea that we naturally do it. But you don't. You're still going by the idea of this is as part of what a man does. And this is what I'm saying about society. Like, we have this idea on both ends, what this idea of being a man is, what masculinity is, that is making this whole term of toxic masculinity, because now you're attributing everything to this aspect of what a man is instead of these different aspects of being a man. Because we're all different. Like, one of the things that I thought about is the fact that the only sports I watch is MMA. After all them niggas fight, they take it in the ring, beat each other's ass. What the fuck they do? You know what I'm saying? They emotional as fuck. Would you say that they're pussies? No, but we don't think about it because of the context that it's in. A lot of that shit is the context that it's in, and it got nothing to do with male or female.
What I want to know is this an attack on the aggression? Is it an attack on aggression? Because what about the chemical, aspect of it? Testosterone. You understand what I'm saying? Right. Like, what role would that play in the fact that that males are, maybe naturally aggressive? You know what I'm saying? And reacting to certain things.
If you were an animal, then I'd be like, okay, cool.
We are animals,
but we're animals. We're animals gifted with reason. So,
but
you should be able to control yourself.
But see, that's what's unfair, Jamie. That's what's unfair when you suggest that it's a self-control thing. That's unfair, because I don't think me defending myself has an issue. You should attack me on my self-control.
I'm not talking about self-defense. But when you talk about testosterone, I feel like, when you bring it up in that context, you're bringing up like the fact that I'm aggressive because I produce testosterone. So everything I do is aggressive.
I think this is the problem with that argument, though, about whole idea of toxic masculinity. Because is it the aggression? Like, is it like I get into an argument with my wife, or is it that I beat my wife's ass every time?
This is what I mean. Action. This is what I mean.
Action. You know what I mean? It's not necessarily the feelings or the hormones and everything.
How about this, DB?
How it affects other people.
How about this, DB? Because this is what I'm having the issue with. The attack should be on you beating your wife, not the argument. And it just seems like now, because of this toxic masculinity and all this, it makes me think about, so now I may not even be able to have this type of healthy debate with my wife, because potentially, or even any woman, because potentially somebody could label me as fucking toxic.
Let me jump in real quick before this.
Real quick, Jay. But it could start with the argument, because how do you die? I'm not saying you specifically, but how are we dialoguing with our wives? You got some brothers that's like, "Hey, I'm the end all be all. Shut the fuck up. I don't want to hear your side." Right. You got some dudes just like, you know what? I'm gonna express myself. I want you to express yourself. We're gonna come up with a solution. You got brothers that tune their wives out all together. Some of that could be seen as toxic.
And I'm glad you said that, because not all toxic masculinity, not all toxicity. It's not all about aggression. Like, there's some take these incels. You know what I mean? Involuntary celibate guys, right?
Right.
Now sometimes their actions end up in violence and aggression, but people like that, their whole thing is manipulation, and what is the goal of manipulation? Well, I feel like I'm entitled to sex with women, so I'm going to make women feel bad. I'm going to guilt women into doing this, and that's all toxic behavior too. It's not aggressive. It's more subversive, you know what I'm saying? But it's still the same thing.
I agree, but at the end of the day, do all of those people do it? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like exactly. you have a lot of Presumably, I don't know. But you have virgins in the world that don't go out and shoot people, right? That don't have sex.
No. But I'm specifically talking about people that identify in that particular group. And
I agree. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
You may not even. I'm not even talking about all these, incel type people. Whatever. I don't want to, group them in there. People, you can be abusive. Being abusive is not necessarily just whooping your wife's ass, whooping your partner's ass, whether it's male, female, whoever. It can be mental abuse, gaslighting. You know what I mean? All these different things, and they're toxic. Also, you know what I mean?
Mm. But that's why I think we need classifications, because there are clear differences. There are clear differences between being aggressive, because we discussed it before. Sometimes you need to be aggressive in situations, between being passive, and I think we all have it. There's times where we are sensible enough to not
but
actually
is it aggressive
act out.
Or we're being active versus passive?
Say that one more time. I'm sorry.
You said being aggressive versus being passive. Is it being active versus being passive?
Well, I mean, but activity. I mean, the activity kind of displays which way you want to go. I mean, the activity, like if and when I say aggressive, not necessarily violent. When I say aggressive, it means maybe, fine. But it's meaning forthcoming. Like if you say you're in a business meeting or something. If you're in a business meeting and y'all grinding it out, trying to work out the details, you might need to be a little bit aggressive to assert yourself in that business meeting, right? Or you might want to play the back.
Aggressive is in that situation is considered an adverb.
But that's why I'm saying context. Not every family. Right. But this is, again, a context. This is why the term
of classic masculine affects others matters.
Exactly. Okay, but even that doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing. Again, if you are basically like say, put it like this. I remember, and this is a very small idea. I'm trying to use this as an analogy. I'm probably gonna fuck it up. But I remember, like, for a long time when I had my son, right, when he was a little kid, little baby, he used to fall. I used to run all the time and pick him up and be like, it's all right, and he would cry and all this other shit. I remember one time we was in my mom's house. We had a barbecue, and my son fell. And my stephouse was like, boy, get your ass up. He got up, didn't fucking cry. And I realized something there. I realized sometimes it's the way how you treat the kid. It's the way how you act that basically affects their whole life. You know what I'm saying? And this is what the aspect that we got to look at. And I guess some of that is this idea of toxic masculinity, but is the fact of saying it's toxic masculinity, it says toxic behavior is the downfall of the shit. That's what I think it is at the end of the day. We got to look at what aspects are toxic. Yes, certain aspects are toxic, whether it's the violence, whether it's entitlement, whatever. Yes, we focus on that, but that, again, is a cultural thing, especially an American way of thinking. You know what I'm saying? So that's what we got to focus on.
And just to add to that, this is a good, start for having these conversations, specifically within groups of our friends. You know what I'm saying? When we see those type of toxic behaviors exhibited, to call motherfuckers out. You know what I'm saying? Like, stop standing around acting like it don't exist or turning your head. That shit. You at your boy's house and he fucking putting his hands on his fucking woman. You know what I'm saying? Say something. Do something. You know what I'm saying? I know we've come into this culture. That's not my business. We got to hold each other accountable for ways that are negatively affecting our families, negatively affecting our communities. Right. We have to hold each other accountable and stand in front of that shit.
And you got and one thing real quick.
Wow, that's a real. It's a little slippery, man. It really is a little slippery.
No, come with it. Don't say it. Come with it.
I mean, because I am one of those individuals who, not the. Did we lose somebody?
Yeah, I think Tashi stepped out.
Yeah, we about to wrap it up soon.
All right, but it just screwed up the boxes and stuff. So, but all right. So then we'll just stop it. Hold on, but I'll finish the thought. But
we can go and finish it up. Yeah.
Because, and I understand what you guys mean when you say, like if you, go over to your homeboy's house and he's over there, beating his wife or whatever. I get you on stuff like that, but that's an obvious thing.
But not for everybody. It isn't. Some people are just like, you know what, it's time for me to go. Let me let them.
No, what I'm saying it's an obvious thing that we can agree on is toxic.
Yeah.
I can agree with you on that one.
Yeah.
But the whole idea that, you know, because relationships, man, I've seen some shit, man. I really have seen some stuff. I've seen relationships where there's been a lot of violence, but you know, over the course of the years, there's been a lot of violence and stuff, but they're still together strong. They still have raised children. They still have, you know, kept their union intact. So there's something to allowing people's situation to kind of work itself out. You understand what I'm saying?
Okay, the relationship is intact. It's still together, but is it healthy?
Yeah.
But listen,
is it healthy for the children? Because sometimes what it looks like in front of you is not. It doesn't really show what the core of it is.
Right.
And if we are men, if we are masculine, what's wrong with my brother trying to check me on something like that? And I respect his opinion to either say, you know what, damn, that dude, he love me. So he should tell me something that's better for me. Let me reassess what I'm doing. I may change, I may not, but let me at least listen to it. Let me not be so to I can't be like, I can't, no one else can't you know, criticize, you know, someone that loves.
So basically, you're saying
from the village mentality, huh?
You're saying address it. If they take the advice, they take it. If not, they don't.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
I think what gets lost in translation about all this whole toxic masculinity thing, and this is the bottom line: people just want men to be better and do.
There's nothing wrong with that.
And I don't think
I don't have a problem with that, but it's just too general, Jamie.
Man. That's what it was.
So I don't have a problem with that. It's just too general. And because they leave it so general, it starts to affect the natural shit, is what I'm saying. Because they don't define it. It's like my thing is like, if we had to, let's just say it may not be easy to do, but if you had to take out the single most toxic behavior that men exhibit, or as a whole, I guess, pick one. Stop leaving it so general, so open-ended, where anything that men can do could be considered toxic if someone feels offended by it. You know, you understand what I'm saying? That gets kind of crazy. You gotta. I look at it this way. It's not just because one person's offended by it. I don't think you should change laws that affect 280 million people.
But what if that one person has power? He can change. He can change the policy to affect tons of people.
I tell you what, fellas, we are going overtime, and we probably gonna have to throw another part into this, which probably wouldn't be a bad thing. But let me just cut this here and say, folks, if you enjoyed the show, which I hope you did, listen, make sure you follow us on all social media platforms. Run over to youtube.com/Reality Guru Show. Consider subscribing. I'm G Cleve. I got my man DB, Anye, special guest Jamie, Tashi checked out a little early.
Special guest with Anye too, but go ahead.
There's a boy, special guest. Yeah, folks, Reality Gurus. Y'all take care.